Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Okay, can you let me know if the sound is working? So if you can put it in the comments, Jazakallah khair. The sound's working. Okay, so Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. So contents of Surah. So what I mean by this is basically that every chapter in the Quran, it has specific topics or specific themes or individuals are mentioned in those topics, and each one of these is considered to be important. Now, when a person reads the Quran generally, for them it kind of seems that the Quran randomly will mention, let's say, Musa alayhi salam in one chapter, and then randomly in another chapter, and randomly in another chapter. Or, for example, like sometimes you might mention randomly Isa alayhi salam, randomly in one chapter, another chapter, or might talk about the Day of Judgment randomly in one place and then randomly in another place. So these kind of this is generally because two problems. The first is it's because people are not familiar with how Arabic language works. That's one of the problems. And the other problem is that it's to do with not having read the Quran multiple times. So sometimes what happens is that when a person reads the Quran once, they might understand translation, okay, but by reading it multiple times, and when I say multiple times, it's like 20, 30, 50, 100, 200 times. That's when things start to make sense. It's just like, if you have those kind of, have you seen those kind of spinning tops? So like there used to be these spinning tops, I remember. They probably got them here as well. Um, and sometimes they sell them outside of shops, the kids ones. And it just looks like a little, like a stick with random lights on there. But when you turn it on, or when you spin it and it revolves, you can actually see that patterns, and sometimes it actually says something that's writing there that goes around. So when a person reads the Quran multiple times, what happens is it starts to create a more sharper picture. Like it becomes HD or 4K. That's what happens. So two problems that generally people have is, one is they're not familiar with the way Arabs write things, right? And so because the Quran was revealed in a time of Arabic language, literature, you need to know how Arabs used to say things in them days when the Quran was revealed to be able to appreciate it. And the second is you need to read the Quran multiple times. That's why we do so many khatams of the Quran. We finish the Quran so many times. Because it's not about, we've got nothing else to do and we just read the Quran again and again. It's because by multiple readings of the Quran, what happens is there'll be one thing, like some people watch a movie, they'll watch the film once and then they watch it again and they watch it again and they watch it again. And each time they watch it, they might see something else in there that they missed last time. So as human beings, we can't grasp everything in one go. They say that a person only learns like seven things at a time. So if a person is reading Quran, imagine that there's so many topics, so many things that Allah is saying. Allah shifts from the story of Nuh alayhi salam to the Day of Judgment, and then sometimes might shift towards the story of Isa alayhi salam, and they might shift toward the people of Makkah and to the Muslims and the Jannah. So it's like the shifting taking place is actually deliberate, and that's the whole experience of reading the Quran and understanding it. So every time you come across something in the Quran, right, there is actually a specific reason for why that is mentioned. So I'll give you an example. For example, like in the Quran, you have the story of Ibrahim alayhi salam. I'm just trying to on my phone find this ayah. There's two ayahs in the Quran, right? One is in Surah. 1 second. Okay, so one is in Surah Hud and one is in Surah Dhariyat. Hud and Dhariyat. Right now, in Hud, basically what happens is Allah sends angels, and these angels come to Ibrahim alayhi salam. Ibrahim alayhi salam, he brings a calf, a baby calf. He cooks it, and he presents it to them as a food gift. You know, like when visitors come to your house. That's obviously, you don't give your guests anything, then I apologize. But normally people give their guests things. Yeah, so he brought this calf. So when he brought this calf, in one ayah it says that it was roasted, and in another ayah it says it was fat, like fat in size, not skinny. So what was the reason for this? So Surah Hud and Surah Dhariyat are the only two places that this is mentioned. But the thing is that in Surah Hud, there is a reason for why the story is mentioned. And in Surah Dhariyat, there is a specific reason for why this story of Musa is mentioned there, and they're not mentioned anywhere else. To appreciate this, you'd have to read Surah Hud beginning to end and Surah Dhariyat beginning to end multiple times in order to understand, just like that kind of spinning, so like stick or top, and then it starts to make a clear picture. This is what you need to do. So in Surah Hud, because the topic is to do with destruction of nations, the 7 nations that were destroyed, and because destruction is mentioned there, and one of the destructions was fire from the sky, like the people of Lut. So the angels came to tell Ibrahim alayhi salam that they're destroying the people of Lut, and so it fits in to mention a calf which is roasted. So roasted calf fits in perfectly in the story of the Surah Hud, because the fire, the burning, the punishment, the kind of torture, it fits in. That's a word that's appropriate for that. And in Surah Dhariyat, on the other hand, fire it's not appropriate with this surah. In fact, the word fire doesn't even appear here in this entire surah, where in Surah Hud they're mentioned multiple times. So therefore, over there, Surah Dhariyat is talking more about the sustenance of Allah, the rizq, the barakah, the blessing that Allah gives to people. So it makes more sense that Allah talks about the calf in Ibrahim alayhi salam brought forward to be fat in size, yeah, because it fits in with that surah. Does that make sense? Now, this, overall, this picture that it creates like multiple camera shots. So one thing you learn about Ibrahim alayhi salam, that he would go out of his way for his guests. That's one of the things. And he would actually go and roast the calf. And it's, roasting a calf, any of you guys done barbecue, you know how long it takes to just put the fire on. Yeah, so imagine having to roast a calf, right? And number 2, it also tells us about the Ibrahim alayhi salam was willing to give the best quality food to his guests, right? He wouldn't give like cheap things. He wouldn't just give like a glass of water and a biscuit here and there. Yes, man. Can you pass me that remote as well for the AC? Yeah, so that's basically how we have to look at the surah. So that's just one example I've given you guys. And if you're kind of like interested more, I would suggest reading the surah cover to cover. Preferably, you should try and do it in Arabic, if you know Arabic. If you don't know Arabic, do it in English. Read through the surah again and again. Listen to it, maybe, translation of it. And that's going to give you like a very good, deeper understanding. Anyway, so that's something I thought I'd mention to you guys. This came to my mind after Jummah, and I thought, you know what, this is a good point. This is about the contents of the surah and how the surah is actually all. It's like all like the kind of beads in a necklace. It's like beads in a necklace. They all have to be there. If one is missing, and if you look at a necklace and you just look at one bead or one diamond or one pearl inside that necklace, you're not really doing justice to it. You have to look at the entire thing. So generally when people have their kind of doubts and criticisms of the Quran, ex-Muslims or non-Muslims or whatever, they're not looking at the Quran as a language that was revealed 1,400 years ago, and they're not really reading it properly. They're just looking at one little thing, like the beautiful necklace that's worth millions of pounds. They're just looking at one little bead or one little aspect of it and criticizing it, without looking at the whole thing and all of the necklaces out there as well. So anyway, that's what came to my mind. Let me know what you guys think as well. What comes to your mind as well. All right. So Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Wasiq. Alhamdulillah. I hope Europe weather is good. I heard that in Europe you guys had some crazy heat storms. Heat storms, or was it heat waves? Yeah, storms. Yeah. So on the news they always mention things that there's going to be you know a heat wave, and then it's going to be followed by some torrential rain. And so I hope you guys are well over there. Anything else? Anybody got asked? Any questions you want to ask? No questions. So alhamdulillah. So here in Birmingham, as you guys know, nice beautiful weather. Yeah, as it is all year round. We always have nice beautiful weather. And as you guys know as well, in cricket, England are in the finals, right? So now I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Yeah, but something to look forward to, at least if you're interested in that kind of stuff. Okay, right. Tahmid, a bit of random question, but does the first word of Surah Al-Kawthar have an ism and a khabar? The first word of Surah Al-Kawthar, inna, you mean? Yeah, inna does. So inna, the we. Yeah, inna is the harf mushabbah bil fi'l, and the na, the we, is the ism. Yeah, and the rest of it is the khabar. Any other questions, guys? Yeah, wa alaikum assalam, Akbar. My brothers and sisters, Juma Barak to all. May Allah Ta'ala grant us the understanding and grant our Shaykh all the barakah in all of his lives. Ameen. That's an excellent dua. That's the best dua I've ever heard. Alhamdulillah. Okay. Next, storms, thunder, lightning in the morning. Oof. Okay, I woke up because of the thunder. Thought it was a bomb. Inna lillah. Inna lillah. Okay. Judaism. Can you show us how you covered your head? How did you wrap it? Yeah, I can show you guys. So basically, yeah, I'll show you how this is done. This is a special for you guys. Yeah, I only do like these kind of things for special people, and you guys special people. So I'm gonna show you guys. Yeah. So basically, what you do, yeah, this is my hair. Yeah, you gotta get a comb. Yeah, you gotta brush your hair. You comb your hair first of all. Yeah, make it proper nice. Otherwise, when you give talks and your hair's messed up, the talk doesn't come out properly. You gotta comb your hair. And sometimes you gotta put some oil on there as well, some nice oil. So I'm gonna show you guys some nice oil that you guys can use. This is a good oil. Yeah, this is beard oil, but you can use it on hair as well. Yeah, I've tried it. It works. This is beard oil. This is called fragranced organic beard oil. Adds shine, conditions, and reduces frizz. So if you're into that kind of stuff, yeah, this is it. So basically, just put it on like this. MashaAllah. Right. And don't do a mistake that I done. Don't spray onto your beard directly. Yeah, because sometimes it doesn't spray like that. And then you just put it into your hair. And then you get this hat, right? You get the hat, and then you put your hat on your head like this. And then you get the imama. You guys going, yeah? Yeah, we're gonna have a meeting. Oh. There were just some guests were here as well. Yeah, so basically what you do is, I'll show you guys. You get this, yeah? Now you see this is my left shoulder, right? So I'm gonna put this on my left shoulder. I'm gonna put it behind my head. Yeah, put it on my left shoulder like this. Put it behind my head, and then bring it over the right. Yeah, and then you bring it diagonally down, all the way down to your ear, and then make sure you hold this. So what you can do, put in your mouth, and then on this side downwards, and you go up, and then that's how you do it. And then you tuck it in the back. You can leave a little tail if you like. Yeah. And then just fix it. The rest is just like the fixing part. Yeah. The rest is just doing that. Fix it. So that's basically how I do it. And there's different ways other people do it, but that's a tutorial of how I tie the turban. Okay, I hope that answers your question. Okay, Muqtasid Aftab, how can I learn Arabic just to understand Quran and read different tafsir, not for speaking? Like the first, I learn Arabic grammar, and then what? Okay, so good question this is. So if you want to learn Arabic, right, what I suggest just to understand the Quran, I actually have a series for this, and my series basically is, and you can use any series you want, is you basically you get you do I have a 17 lessons you cover, and once you learn those 17 lessons, you learn basically 78% of the major rules in every ayah. And then what that does is it puts you onto the second stage with application. So I have a second course which is for application in Surah Yasin. You apply that, and then after you've done that, then you can go on to, if you want to, like do some extra grammar, Ajurumiyah, right? So if you've done that, I think generally, with a bit of practice with someone, you can actually start reading tafsirs. Yeah. Okay, quite simple. Yeah, it's very simple, very very easy, straightforward, very straightforward. Osmanli, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. Joe, barak to you as well. 95 grid. Start with 3 Medina books. Yeah, you can start with Medina books. That's another way of doing it as well. Anonymous, wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. I am very good. Thank you very much. Alhamdulillah, I'm good. How are you? Okay, yeah, so that's basically how I do that. Any other sort of questions you guys have? No questions. So alhamdulillah, this week you guys might have seen that I put up a video on nasiha and a hadith. It's about nasiha, and it was basically recorded on a camera. So I'm testing out cameras at the moment, and let me know what you guys think of that. I'm gonna maybe look into a different camera as well, and also. I'm fine from Karachi. Do you remember? Anonymous. I'm sorry, Anonymous. I don't remember you from Karachi. You have a very anonymous name. Very difficult with anonymous name knowing someone. Okay, you're gonna have to tell me your name, and then I can remember you maybe. Okay, so Jazakallah khair, guys. I don't think there's any more questions you guys have. And yeah, so that's my week. Hopefully, I'm gonna try to do another Q&A one. This wasn't really for Q&A, but hopefully, I'm gonna try to do a Q&A one, and that's for another time. But now, if you guys got no questions, then I'll leave, inshallah, because as you guys know, it's Friday, and on Friday late afternoons, you guys know what I do. I play badminton. So alhamdulillah, I played on Wednesday as well, and mashallah, Wednesday went very well. Yeah, we played about 12 games maybe, and we won most of them. So most of the games I won, alhamdulillah. And yeah, you can ask a question. Inshallah. How good am I? Ugh. This is a very difficult question. You can only know if you play me, bro. Yeah, you have to play me to find out. Yeah, I'm not that good. I'm okay. Yeah. I have my on and offs, that's the thing. Yeah, I have my on and offs. So sometimes I play good, sometimes I don't play that good. So I'm going to be honest, I'm no point lying. All right, so Jazakallah khair, guys. I think there's no other questions. All you guys are just watching me. They're just waiting for someone to ask a question. So Jazakallah khair. Thank you very much, guys. And I will see you, inshallah, next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Oh, 1 second, a question came. Okay, a question's come. I was told that women can't wear perfume because of the hadith. However, if I wear a perfume with a light fragrance and then wear a chadar, wouldn't that be okay? Yeah, so the hadith regarding the perfume, the fuqaha mentioned that this was because of the woman was attracting other people. Yeah, so attracting other people, that's something which obviously for women to attract another person, like to kind of make other people turn their heads towards them. So this is like attraction. And then by wearing perfume or lots of perfume, that causes other men to, without any need, turn towards her, then this is something which is impermissible. And this goes for anything, not just perfume as well. Like the Quran mentions, لا يضربن بأرجلهن ليعلمن ما يخفين من زينتهن. Women shouldn't stamp their feet on the ground to make heard their jewelry to other men. So this was also part of the modesty as well of a woman as well. So if it's a light perfume or if it's natural just fragrance inside the washing up liquid that you use on the clothing, and it's a small amount of perfume, yeah, then it's permissible. I don't see anything wrong with it. Yeah, small amount of perfume. It's not gonna like cause a big. Sometimes some people wear perfume and they're standing like 10 meters away in a room and you can smell. It's very strong. So I think a person using it should bear that in mind. Okay. Wa alaikum assalam, Sister Fawzia. Okay. As-Sufa Institute is a great for learning Hanafi fiqh. Is there any place to learn Shafi fiqh, Arabic, Aqidah in the West Midlands? Shafi fiqh. I'm not sure if there's an institute for it, but there are many. I think there are many people who do teach Shafi fiqh. You can get like individual scholars or something. I'm not too sure about in the Midlands, so I wouldn't be able to say. I can maybe find out. I can maybe ask some people if they know any places that are teaching Shafi fiqh, but I'm not too sure about that. My cousin just had a miscarriage after 20 weeks. Inna lillahi wa raji'un. The baby died inside her womb. Would it need to be given a proper burial? So the scholars mention, according to Hanafi school, they say that burial, naming, and ghusl are only the rights of a human that has was born with life. So if it wasn't born with life, then no. Yeah, there's no. It's just the child is or the fetus is taken, and it might be washed and wrapped up, and then just buried somewhere. Yeah, inshallah, I'll try to find out. Inshallah, I'll ask around. There's some contacts. Okay, next. Can you please explain the hadith that the brother-in-law is deaf? Yeah, so this hadith is to do with the etiquettes and the rules of interacting with in-laws. So when it comes to in-laws, for example, like the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned about the mughibat. Mughibat basically are those women whose husbands have gone abroad somewhere or not around, have gone for battle or something. And the Prophet said, be very careful of these women, meaning as in, take care of them, don't abuse them. So their husbands are away, maybe they have lots of desire, and because their husbands are away on battle, that someone might take advantage of this and might, do something wrong with them. So the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned severe warnings for men who take advantage of them. And amongst them, someone asked, well, what if there's a woman and there's her brother-in-law alone, like her brother-in-law is with her alone and the husband's not there. So he said that the brother-in-law is deaf, meaning that the brother-in-law is similar to death. It's like dying, as in with the brother-in-law. What tends to happen is it's different from like some random person, because the brother-in-law, she's a bit more comfortable with the brother-in-law, and this is where sometimes like illicit relationships can start when two people are comfortable with each other, and then they start meeting and talking, and yeah, and then it leads down like a spiral, and it can lead to something haram. So this is why it's very important for people to have segregation, and more importantly to have fear of Allah in their hearts as well, and to avoid this from happening. Sometimes a person can have fear of Allah in their heart, but they slip, and just one or two unfortunate meetings results in something which is impermissible in Islam. So that's what the death is referring to, as in the brother-in-law situation is kind of looked at lightly, and it's actually probably the easiest for a person to slip and to lead to their death as in spiritual death. Okay, no other questions? Are you Maturidi in Aqidah? I've heard that Athari Aqidah is closer to what the Salaf are upon. I mean, this is another big topic, and I've mentioned this before as well, about this whole history of the Aqidah of the early scholars, and then the Aqidah of scholars after that, and even today. This is a big topic. I don't really have much time to cover this because I'll have to leave in a bit. But I've mentioned in previous live streams. So if you look at one of my previous live streams, I've mentioned it. Yeah, I've studied Maturidi Aqidah. I've studied Maturidi. I've studied Quran Aqidah, Hadith Aqidah, if you want to call it. I think for a lot of people, they get confused with this term. What Aqidah is yours? Yeah, I think they get confused with this idea of Aqidah, and they think that Aqidah is basically like there's multiple Aqidas out there, and they're all independent of one another, and they all are different, and like they're like different versions of Islam, which is not necessarily true. Aqidah is the main thing to believe. I always say this is, if you believe what the Sahabas believed, like the Quran says, فَإِنْ آمَنُوا بِمِثْلِ مَا أَمَنْتُمْ بِهِ فَقَدْ اهْتَدَوْا. Yeah, Allah says, if they believe in what you believe, the Sahabas believe, then you are on the right path. So as long as a person says, look, I believe what the Sahabas used to believe, I believe in that, I believe the Quran, khalas, that person is successful. Anyway, I'm still confused. How old should a boy be before we should observe parda from him? This is the kind of thing where if a child reaches the age of puberty, I think that's a time to start to be cautious now. Yeah, that's when hormones kick in. That's when desires come. Generally, if a child, if it's your own child, it's different. If it's someone else's child, but yeah, it's roughly around the ages of 14, 15, you start to observe hijab. Okay, what's coming up in the fiqh exam, Ustad? Salat, Zakat, Hajj. Okay. I was told that on masalas on which the three imams are on one side and Imam Hanifa is on the other side, then there's more leniency for Hanafis to follow other opinion. Did I understand it correct? Not really. No, it doesn't look like that. Ustad, can you please explain about good or bad and opinions of Mu'tazila, Ash'ari and Maturidi on the issue? Okay, this is another long question. It's going to require a bit of explanation. Anyway, I have to go. As you guys know, I've gone badminton. So Jazakallah khair, guys, and I will see you next time. Hopefully, I'm going to try to do another live stream this weekend. If I can't, then I'll have to leave it till the weekend after, inshallah. Alright, so Jazakallah khair, guys. Take care, inshallah, and remember me in your du'as. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.